Kadarius Toney. So Toney, first weekend of training camp, took a step during a return drill, hurt his knee. We find out a couple days later that he partially tore his meniscus. He had surgery to clean out cartilage. And there's been kind of this vague timeline as to, Toney wants to be ready for week 1. There's really no like firm answer on that. So my question to you,
go ahead.
My question to you is, Doc, when you hear a partially torn meniscus and then surgery to repair it and cleaning out cartilage, how long of a timeline do you give that before a guy is ready to go back and give it a full go?
Well, first of all, it depends. It depends on the side of the tear, medial lateral, the size of the tear, associated damage. But, you're going to hurt me with this one because I don't do a lot of fantasy, okay? The only fantasy I've ever played is the Scott Fish Bowl. 10, 11, 12, and this year 13. I've done pretty well by luck. I've never really done fantasy before, but I figured I needed to. And it's sort of like going to 4 football games and it's 4 Super Bowls, right? I mean, the Scott Fish Bowl. I drafted Kadarius Toney before the injury. I do not see him as injury prone. I have great confidence in your medical staff and your head athletic trainer that whatever lingering hamstring issues he had could be solved with an off-season program. So I did not have Toney as injury prone. Now, of course, he comes up, this is a totally different issue. Look, when you play the sport of football, you are absolutely prone to injury, but that's different than injury prone. Look, I drafted him. I'm still hoping that he comes back. Is it week 1? I mean, look, I don't know Kadarius Toney. Return to play is always difficult. It's, how does the player feel, the type of player? He clearly is a speedster, but, it is totally possible that the Chiefs and Toney say, look, let's make sure you're 100% so we're not stopping this whole season. Let's not be so hyper-focused on week 1. We're defending Super Bowl champions. We want you in the long haul, long run. Is it possible he's ready week 1? Yes. Am I hopeful still, especially with my fantasy? Yes. I don't see him going on long-term anything. This is not going to be a 6-week IR deal, which they could put him on, right? I don't see that happening. Is he a lock for week 1? If it were the Super Bowl week 1 in terms of the timeline, he'd be a lock because it is, quote, just week 1. Andy Reid and company may take it conservative. So look, you're 85%. Look, we're good. Let's make sure you're closer to 100 and not be in and out. When you're back, we want you fully back. So we'll see what happens. But week 1's not unreasonable, but not guaranteed for that reason.
Okay. Yeah. And I think one of the things people always say about Toney that they're surprised. I mean, he's not injury prone, right? But this because the hamstring is totally different from the knee. Obviously, you know that. But if you look the way he plays, his hard cut, the way he cuts is so violent. The way he cuts on the football field, and it's like, man, and hearing that he had during a return drill, I mean, who knows what kind of cut he had, which may have possibly have done that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what makes him great, right? His cutting ability. I mean, if he didn't want doing that, then I don't know that he's, going to be worth it, right? So you got to live with the good and the bad, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I talked to someone at the Super Bowl, Jim Everett, and he was asking me about Patrick Mahomes, and I was saying, his high ankle, he's going to be fine for this reason. And he just kind of shook his head. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, back in my day, if I tried to do any of that, I would be yelled at and benched. Right? I mean, all this off-axis, non-mechanical stuff. But that's kind of what makes Patrick great there.
The throwing the ball across your body, which was like a Cardinals too when I was in high school. If a quarterback ever tried that kid was going to the bench and maybe going down to JV.
Yeah.
So that's promising news. That you don't think it's so you don't think it's this partial meniscus tear is that big of a deal.
Well, it is to a speedster and that. I mean, he's obviously missing time. It is a big deal because this is his chance to cement himself with the system and the other players, right? And familiarity gets targets, right? And so it does hurt them in that way and hurt him in that way. But I don't see this as oh my gosh, he's not going to be there for the bulk of the season or in any stretch run.
Okay. Man,
it hurts me in my fantasy more than it hurts the Chiefs overall.
That's good. That's a positive thing to hear for a Chiefs fan.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.